Hello gaming enthusiasts, welcome to Just One Guy's Opinion. This week we are changing up the format. Hope you dig it. If you do, leave a comment below. If you don't, do the same and I'll fix it for next time. This week we are talking about Injustice: Gods Among Us. This is a fighting game brought to us by NetherRealm Studios. They brought us Mortal Kombat 9 and they did a really good job on this game. One thing that they did that really stands out is the story. Most times when you play a fighting game, you have two overlaying topics about the story that stand true. One, the story doesn't make sense, or two, you don't really care about the story. Injustice isn't breaking any grounds here, but they are giving you a comic story that you can give a damn about and be interested in. The premise here is, what happens if you piss off this guy?
Get away from him!
The interface for Injustice is very, very clean. It looks very futuristic, almost like the Bat Pewter, if you can imagine that. Here we have the battle system. It's basically an arcade mode with conditions. You can think of it like that. The training mode is very robust. In the tutorial, they give you everything you need to know about the system of Injustice. They tell you about button commands, about special moves, how they're done, the timing, and even the combo break system. Here in the actual training mode, you can set up a large variety of situations for you to learn your character. It's very, very involved. Here on the pause screen you have a plethora of options that you can see below. For the move list here, you have your attacks on the left and your specific data on the right. With the data, they get really involved and they give you move data and frame data for this. If you care to really get involved and number crunch, it's there for you. You can see that if you select a specific move, that there is a detailed list, rather annotation on the right side that tells you if there are any additional attributes or abilities for that particular move. What I'm doing here is you're able to highlight or store moves or combos that are listed, and it will list them for you underneath your health bar, so you don't have to come back to the pause menu to check moves back and forth. Every character has a character power that is specific to that character. For Superman, it increases power and helps him avoid armor. And that is a very easy Superman combo. On the AI options, you are able to give your computer-controlled opponent that you have standing there, in my case Doomsday, I could make him do a variety of things, have him walk forward, have him jump, have him counterattack, so I can simulate different actions and practice. One thing that really makes Injustice stand out from other fighting games are the stages and the environmental damage within. With that environmental damage, you need to pay attention to what character you're using. It really matters with the area that you're in. Here we have Superman and Batman. Notice how Superman just throws a missile, Batman detonates it, but they both fling the toolbox. So moving on to multiplayer, versus is your basic one-on-one. If you had a buddy sitting next to you or whatever, you can play against them. But the online mode is pretty much where this game is going to be made or broken. I'm going to let this play in real time so you have an idea of what to expect from the online component. I am on the PlayStation 3 as opposed to the Xbox 360, so you can judge from there. These are what is the leaderboard here for ranked, and you can see below rankings there. So going for a ranked match really fast, and or not. We'll see how long it takes to get an opponent. I wanted to make sure that I knew what I was doing before I made this opinion, so I played for a while before I did anything with this video. So now we have someone, and let's see what's going to happen. One thing you can do in this game that's cool is that you can hide your cursor like that, and you can blind pick so you can avoid the counter pick issues. If you don't know what counter picking is, it's when someone selects a character solely based on the character that you are playing with. It gets a little more complex than that, but that's the gist of it.
Athena, guide me.
Catch me if you can.
Begin. Go home, weakling.
And there goes the W. So once you win a game online or a match online, you're awarded points for your level. And you get those points from doing various things in the game. Well, in that match, rather. I'm looking for a 1 versus 1 non-ranked match here, and I sped up the video to about 500%, so this won't drag on. This is day 3 of online play, so people are discovering what characters can do and what they can't do, what works well against, certain tactics. Like here I'm fighting a Deathstroke, and most Deathstrokes, they spam the gun and they try and distance you out, but you can see that that didn't work here. What's cool about the 1 versus 1 is that you can rematch if you choose, and you can play the same guy you were playing. Aquaman is a vicious beast in this game. You guys need to pick him up for nothing but this. That's bananas. So moving on from that, I think next we're going to check out the lobby system in the game. You're able to make a room, and it tells you how many players are in that room. and you can join that room. I don't like joining beginners rooms at my current level because it's not really fair, not really fun for the beginner, so I go to a different room. And here you're able to see players that are engaged already. Like that is a King of the Hill match, and here is a player waiting to be challenged. So what I'm doing here is I'm setting up a Survivor match because I never played Survivor, so I'm checking out to see what it is. And I invited the maximum number of players, and boom. Now with the lobby system, they did this really cool thing. They took this from Soul Calibur 5, I believe, and you're able to have your lobby here and view the game, the action in game rather, as you see fit. You can hit select and it'll switch from the lobby view, which is this right here, to full screen. While you're playing, you can't switch, but if you're an observer, you're waiting your turn, you can chat or view other people's cards or whatever. And again, we're speeding up the action because these matches can last a while or not. And here, once you complete a match, if you hit the requirements down below, then those are added to your overall XP score, and you get bonus XP for fulfilling those conditions during a match. So it's gives you something extra to play for. Now I dig Survivor. I played it this one time to make this video, but I dig it because if you notice, second player's cursor is active. You have the little light going around it, but first player, me, is static. That means that I cannot switch my character. Alright, so the winner, you have to stay with the character that you picked. You can't switch back and forth, which is very cool. So I think I'll be playing this for a while from now on. And hyperspeed fighting. If you guys don't like the sped up fighting, let me know and I won't do it again. I thought this was a good idea for the nature of the game.
Time to end the insurgency.
This is story mode. I'm trying not to spoil anything because I hate spoilers. But basically, you watch cutscenes and it leads up to a fight. And before you fight, you have your little cutscene, then you fight, and then you have an outro.
Superman is the enemy, Hal, not me.
Like that. Overall, this game is awesome. The stage transitions right here are incredible. The super moves are insane. Doomsday just drills you through the planet. Most people have said that they get tired of seeing the transitions or super moves after a while, but honestly, I never tire of seeing this stuff. It's well animated, it looks great, it fits the character, and it just adds a little oomph, a little wow factor for the observer. If you haven't played a fighting game in your life and you see this, you're going to stop and look at this guy getting pummeled by a factory. He's on the assembly line getting his ass beat. Pretty great. You can see here that this is not Catwoman's default costume. You can unlock costumes throughout the course of the game. Here I'm going to show you Superman's costumes. I have about 4 of them. 3 are unlockable and 1 is a DLC. As a game, Injustice is not without its flaws. As a fighting game, there are three main things in this game that will keep Injustice from being a top-notch fighter and widely accepted, and only remain attractive to die-hard fans of DC Comics. One is that it feels so very different from any fighting game on the market. While that sounds attractive, if you're a player of other fighting games trying to find your way in Injustice, you're going to spend a lot of time getting adjusted to the combo system, the move layout, and the overall structure of the game. It's not a bad thing, but it will wreck you if you play a different game of the same type. So if you are a die-hard Street Fighter person or a die-hard Tekken person and you don't want to mess up your muscle memory for those two games or any other games like them, you'll probably stay away from Injustice because it feels so very different. At times it feels that button mashing is rewarded, and others it feels that the combo system is very, very strict on the timing. Also, every character has a special move that they're able to use when you have a full super meter. You're able to fill this meter at the bottom of your screen when you deal damage or are dealt damage. Sometimes it feels that you gain more meter when you're being dealt damage. So if you're dishing out a lot of damage, you're feeding your opponent's meter. Every character in the game shares the same button command for doing their special move, which is on PS3, L2 and R2. On Xbox 360, it would be right trigger and left trigger. You can pretty much spam these buttons and perform a move that does an incredible amount of damage at any time, meaning that there are elements out there that will use this and have no reason or rhyme about why they're doing it, just so they can get a move out. Again, this elevates the ease of entry for most players, but it's going to keep Injustice out of the spotlight because it'll be deemed as cheap or skillless. That might be an elitist way of thinking, but that's the first thing that came to mind when I was playing online and noticing a trend that players would get the crap beat out of them and just Hail Mary a special move, and it's predictable. You can see it coming. Sometimes you can't, like Superman's. His is very, very quick, but after a while it gets kind of disheartening to see that this is a trend among players that use this as an out. The second thing is the ranking system and the leaderboards in Injustice. The ranking system feels a little tacked on, and what I mean by that is, after playing it for almost a full day, I really didn't see a need to be ranked. What I mean by that is, when I initially started playing the game on ranked, I really didn't pay attention to who I was fighting. I just wanted to fight. But as I gained more wins and more consecutive wins, I started paying attention to my opponents. What I noticed was that, unfortunately, I got most of my wins from players who were at a 0 of 0 win-loss ratio. Now, while that doesn't necessarily mean that they had never played the game, that does mean that they had never played ranked before. And with me having a record somewhere up of, 70 and 5, I thought it a little unfair to fight someone who was 0 of 0 or, 4 and 26. It felt a little unfair, and I don't like winning like that. It doesn't really make me feel like I'm getting better or learning anything. It just makes me feel bad for beating up on someone who has no idea what they're doing. On the flip side, some of you out there might say that, if you're online, prepare to get beat. If you aren't ready to play, then don't play. But that really doesn't attract players. Getting your butt whooped online doesn't build a community, it just builds resentment, and I'm not for that. If we as fighting game players want to build the fighting game community, we have to be open to new players, to each other. And if your sole purpose is to go out and beat on someone, then I kind of feel sorry for you. The ranking system should be more like a Tekken or a Street Fighter, where you're placed in tiers. Once you gain a certain amount of points, you're placed in a queue to fight players of an equal yoke, or a near approximation of your level. If you're fighting someone who is way more experienced than you, or way under experienced than you, then you're either gonna not have a good time, or you're gonna get bored, or you're gonna have a false sense of accomplishment. It should be where you are placed in a queue of equally skilled players and go for it. Not having that in this game is going to ruin the luster pretty quickly, because players who would normally be fueled by competition are going to discover that there is none, or that there is no equally comparable player out there. They're just getting matched to random players in the wild in a ranked setting, and they can easily do that in a unranked 1 versus 1 or lobby setting. And number 3, there is no penalty for rage quitting in Injustice. Now, this might not be a big deal for some of you, but to me, it's a pretty big deal. I don't really get angry if you rage quit. It's disappointing. What really gets under my skin is if there's no penalty for rage quitting. What I mean by that is that if you're playing someone and there's a really close match, you really want to duke it out, if they chicken out at the last sliver of health, then what does that accomplish? That's just trolling. Now, if you're going to troll, you're going to troll, right? But as a developer, as a fighting game developer, you should really be attuned to the community, the people that you are catering to, and to not have a penalty for something like that, or not to take that into consideration. I think that's a big misstep on NetherRealm's part. As much as I like these guys, they really dropped the ball on that. They really need to patch something in where you're penalized for rage quitting. You know, even if you disconnect, you know, I'll risk being penalized if I disconnect, because that just makes the other guys' experience that much more lousy. But if you leave in the middle of a match, then there should be some penalty for it. You should lose ranking, you should lose XP, or you should do what Marvel vs. Capcom 3 does and group you with other people who rage quit, so you can rage quit with each other. You can piss each other off. But yeah, not having a penalty for rage quitting, that's a really big no-no. But it's happening, and you can see a person's disconnect record before you fight them in unranked matches, and you can decline to fight them. But in a ranked setting, that should be number 1, where you can choose to fight or not fight someone who has a high disconnect record. As it stands, when you play ranked matches, when you are matched with a player, you must fight that player. If you disconnect, you get a penalty for it. You get a loss, whether or not you want to fight them or not. And again, I think that's a big oversight, and hopefully NetherRealm will pick up the bat and fix it. Overall, I have really enjoyed myself playing Injustice. I really dig this game. It has been well worth the $60 price tag, as well as $15 for the season pass that they're offering for future DLC. If you're a fan of fighting games, or a fan of DC, or a fan of DC and fighting games, you won't go wrong with Injustice. The presentation is top notch, the animation is spot on, the voice acting's good, it runs at 60 frames per second, you have a crap load of options in training mode, and you'll just have a blast playing as your favorite DC character. I want to thank you guys for watching, and as always, remember, this is my opinion and you can't have it. Go out and get your own. But before you go, if it's not in the game already, NetherRealm, this costume needs to happen. Make it happen.